All right, if you've ever spent time with the Quran, you've definitely seen them. These strange, disconnected letters that kick off certain chapters. For centuries, they've been this huge, profound puzzle. But the source material we're digging into today, it offers a totally radical way of looking at this, one that might just reframe the entire mystery.
Take these three letters, for example, Aleph, Lam, Mim. Now, the traditional understanding is honestly beautiful. It says, their true meaning is a secret known only to God. And you have to respect that. It's a stance of complete humility in the face of a divine text.
But what if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time? The framework we're exploring today suggests a massive paradigm shift. What if these aren't symbols we're meant to decipher, but are actually commands that are meant to be executed?
And this, right here, just nails the core idea. We're shifting our focus from a hunt for some hidden, secret meaning to understanding an operational function. It's kind of like finding out the intro to a piece of software isn't poetry. It's the actual code that tells the whole program how to run.
So the sources call these Muqatta'at field operators. The best way to think about them is like a lens or maybe a prism. They take the divine light, all the knowledge and guidance in a chapter, and they set the exact rules for how that light should refract and land, both in our reality and inside our own hearts.
So before you even get to the first verse, these operators are doing something absolutely critical. They're synchronizing three fundamental forces. You've got Rahman, which is like the big overarching field of potential, then Rahim, which is the specific record, the book itself, and finally Razim, which is the force that collapses that potential into a real concrete action. It's basically a system check before the program runs.
And this whole system isn't random. It runs on a very clear protocol, a kind of engine that's enforced by these headers. The source material calls it the 237 protocol.
Here's how it works. It unfolds in three stages. First, you have the 2. That's your binary choice. You have to consciously decide to receive the information, not just emotionally react to it. Then comes the 3. The letters themselves, the operator, act as the processor. They set the specific mode for the chapter you're about to read. And finally, you get the 7, the outcome. This process leads to a specific state, whether that's peace or patience or correction.
Okay, so that's the underlying logic. But how do these commands actually work in practice? Let's break down a few of the most common operators you'll find in the text.
Just looking at this, you can see right away they have really distinct jobs. ALM is all about immediate law in action. ALR is about seeing patterns unfold over time. And HM is for managing really intense spiritual pressure. See? They're not interchangeable. They are very specific tools for very specific jobs.
So let's zoom in on ALM. The Aleph is like the injection of pure potential right from the source. Then Lam represents the book, which acts like a lens to curve that raw potential into specific guidance. And Mim, that's the final seal, the convergence. It makes sure the knowledge doesn't just stay theoretical. It has to land as a concrete action or a necessary restraint.
Now compare that with ALR. The first two steps are identical, injection and curvature. But here's the twist. The R replaces the Mim. So instead of that immediate seal of action, the function completely shifts to witnessing. This operator shows up in chapters dealing with history, and it's basically telling us to watch, to observe how truth resolves itself over long periods of time. It's all about recognizing the patterns.
Then you've got Ham, which is a whole different ballgame. Ha represents the oscillation of life itself, that constant pulse. But Mim brings the pressure, the compression of the seal of judgment. This operator acts like a reset triad. It's used in chapters where the stakes are incredibly high, where you're dealing with accountability and managing that intense tension between pure mercy and, well, fire.
And believe me, it gets even more complex. You've got an operator like Kaf, Ha, Ya, and Sad, which you'll find in the chapter of Mary. This thing is a multi-scale resolver. Its job is to establish what the source calls orphaned continuity, basically forcing reliance on a direct connection to the divine source and the book, not on who your parents were or what your lineage is. It just shows you how deep and specific this system really is.
So why? Why go through all this trouble? Why have such a complex system of code headers at all? Well, according to this framework, it serves one absolutely critical purpose: to act as a safety switch for the human soul.
This lays it out perfectly. There are two potential outcomes. When you respect the header, when you make that initial choice to receive and let the operator do its job, the knowledge becomes cool fire. It brings peace and guidance. But if you ignore it, if you just rush in, that very same divine light can become a consuming fire, a really destructive energy.
There's a line from the source material that just captures this perfectly. Fire without wood destroys. Knowledge without timing corrupts. The Muqatta'at, they are the wood. They're the medium that lets the fire of knowledge provide warmth and light instead of just burning everything down. They make sure truth lands with the right timing, in the right context.
And look, this isn't just some abstract model they came up with. The sources anchor this idea directly in the Qur'an itself. They identify these operators with the specific phrase from verse 1587, the 7 of the oft repeated. They're seen as these recurring logic gates that keep our day-to-day reality lawfully entangled with the entire cosmic structure.
So, what's the bottom line? If you think of the human soul as being like a plant's photosystem, and divine revelation is the light, then the Muqatta'ats are the specific, non-negotiable instructions for how that system is supposed to convert that light into life, into actual nourishment, growth, and fruit.
Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought to chew on. When we encounter these letters, are we just looking at a set of instructions for how to properly read a book? Or are we actually engaging with a living system that's designed to process our own state, a book that is in fact reading us?